If I could turn now, please, to Professor Nick Voulvoulis, who is Professor of Environment Technology and Deputy Head of Department at the Centre for Environmental Policy, Imperial College London. We're very fortunate to have you, so over to you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for the invitation. Okay, so notwithstanding the successes achieved in the delivery of water and sewerage services since privatization, the water sector is currently obviously under increased public and media scrutiny for its environmental performance, fueled by the increased frequency of combined sewer overflows. It is also under pressure to address sustainability and adapt to the challenges of climate change. Water infrastructure is critical for this. Water must be protected, and also access to it must be equitable and affordable. Still, there are 2 points to consider here. The water sector is highly regulated, and 2, water infrastructure is expensive. While the rest of the world has been going through a period of increased investment building such infrastructure, here companies still need to operate, maintain, and upgrade existing water systems while keeping services affordable. As for any other capital-intensive sector, when prices are kept low, asset renewal often ends up being postponed. In fact, water companies might see it as their duty to maintain sewerage assets and enable them to deal with additional loads from new developments by maximizing efficiencies, cutting costs, and making tough decisions about where to invest, while keeping water bills low. Ofwat itself, having the duty to protect consumer interests while ensuring that efficiently run water companies are able to finance their functions, sits on a thin line between putting pressure on companies to keep water bills low, but to keep spending enough on investments in water infrastructure. As with most other developed countries served by water infrastructure that is aging and is in need of replacement, expansion, or upgrading, there comes a point when it becomes clear that efficiency alone cannot address these needs without wastewater system expansion and growth in infrastructure. In the US, for example, in the latest infrastructure plan in 2021, the Biden administration included an unprecedented $111 billion to upgrade the country's water infrastructure, which was still short of what the American Water Works Association estimated as the capital investment needed to raise the country's wastewater and stormwater systems to acceptable levels and also upgrade the drinking water system that are coming to the end of their useful life. Just over the past decade, England's population has increased by 6%, almost 7% in cities, with 56.5 million people living in urban centers in 2022. As a result, most sewage works are now treating a significantly higher volume of flow than they were originally designed and built to accept. About 79% of all large works have treatment capacity less than 3 dry water flows, and more than 78% of all CSOs discharging are connected to these works. The majority of the CSOs are also located in the inlet and storm tanks of treatment works, where the population load is much greater. This means that CSOs are used as a way to manage the undercapacity, a critical parameter driving the frequency and duration of CSOs discharging in English rivers. In other words, parts of the wastewater and drainage infrastructure operate at or over design capacity. And this infrastructure, from pumps to pipes, is often out of sight and out of mind. And its importance only realized, unfortunately, when it's not functioning. More going unrecognized and uncelebrated when it works properly. Water is the most important commodity in the world. It is indispensable for life, yet it's also one of the cheapest. Considering the high cost of water and wastewater infrastructure, it seems that we are happy to enjoy its benefits when paid by previous generations, but find it difficult to pay for when its benefits are to also be enjoyed by generations to come. Environmental regulations have an important role to play in helping industry deliver its mission. While most of such regulations have come from the European Union in the past, they were introduced in order to comply with EU directives and often avoid potential fines rather than going the extra mile to deliver real environmental and societal benefits. So going to my first point about how the water industry is highly regulated, it needs to resist the urge to simply do the minimum required to meet these regulations or taking action just to avoid potential fines. I think instead, it needs to take a leading role, delivering sustainable water and wastewater infrastructure, ensuring a provision that is resilient both to the conditions we face today and to the changes in population and weather patterns that we can expect in the future. Policymakers, water managers, urban planners, researchers, stakeholders, and customers need to work together to develop a collective, we heard about this earlier, a collective vision, not just to solve the problems, but to understand how the system works and create the enabling conditions for the uptake of sustainable practices to ensure that we have both enough water and of the right quality in now and in the future. And I think that was my last slide. Thank you for listening.
That was fantastic, Nick. And I can tell you we're going at quite a pace. I was particularly taken by what you said so eloquently about flow capacity, and it chimes with what I said earlier about all these major developments of 4 or 5 bedroomed houses being asked to connect to pipes that simply were not designed. And that's something I think we can work together on very, very, very much indeed.